On March 17th, a leaked government plan revealed the possibility that the pandemic could potentially last as long as 18 months and come in multiple waves rather than being a single linear progression. What if the pandemic does continue as it does now for the whole 18 months or even beyond? Another question is, how long will it last? Thinking that it will end in May or June is not relevant, even though some believe that a warmer weather will make this virus disappear. Generally speaking, coronaviruses have a seasonal character. However, some of them, like SARS-CoV, are stronger, and so heat will not make them disappear. We're almost 4 months into a brave new Covid-19 world. Since the initial public reports of the novel coronavirus on December 31st of 2019, we've had over 1.8 million confirmed cases, nearly 1.3 million of which are still active. There is a whole range of great changes that this virus has brought to each of us and also to the societies in which we live our lives. Even though at this moment the number of recoveries is higher than the number of deaths, with a rate of 420,000 recoveries to 110,000 deaths, human existence and all that it implies will undoubtedly change. There have been many voices talking about an effective vaccine against coronavirus, but professionals like scientists and epidemiologists have stated that a longer period of time has to pass until such a cure can be produced. We are talking about a whole year, or possibly even more. In times of crisis, hoping for the best represents a good approach, but a more practical perspective is preparing ourselves for the worst-case scenario. Epidemiologist Frank Myers from the UC San Diego Health Clinic mentions herd immunity. He believes that the coronavirus will be present among human communities, and at some point, it will interact with so many people's systems that our bodies will be able to create antibodies to protect us against it. Day by day, this whole situation is changing at an extremely fast pace, and this can seed a lot of confusion in our heads. Yet, we can always choose to listen to professionals and have a look at their premonitions for how our lives and we, as individuals, will change after this pandemic will end. Nobody would have ever believed that we would experience this type of crisis, where the governments would use such surveillance instruments in order to control how this coronavirus pandemic develops. It's quite the science fiction scenario, if you think about it. Look at China. They are using mobile apps to control smartphones with facial recognition cameras, and citizens are forced to report their body temperatures so that any coronavirus carrier can be found and dealt with. Also, the Chinese government is controlling people's movements and any person they might come in contact with. However, this strategy is not only being applied throughout China. Israel has recently started to use cyber tracking technology, which has, until now, been enforced in counter-terrorist actions. This way, all coronavirus patients are monitored. Even though initially this country's parliament said no to such a measure, eventually the Prime Minister Netanyahu deployed it as an emergency tool. Considering all of this, one cannot help but question whether this approach is damaging or not. Are we willing and prepared to give up our privacy in order to take care of our health? Yuval Noah Harari, an Israeli historian, warns about a potential and damaging conversion from over-the-skin control to under-the-skin control. He gives an example about a world where all people will have to wear biometric bracelets that will track our body temperatures and heart rates 24/7. The implications of enforcing such a mechanism are that, in theory, authorities will be constantly updated with any changes in your well-being in terms of health, and they will also be informed about all the places and people you interact with. Therefore, infection and disease transmission rates will be controlled in order to prevent any potential pandemics. The downside of all of this is that your body temperature, blood pressure, and heart rate will be continuously monitored by the government that will know at all times what is happening with you whenever you are doing something. In other words, private information, such as things that make you cry, laugh, or make you angry, will become completely accessible for authorities. A sort of Cambridge Analytica on steroids will govern our lives. Judging by previous usage of such methods in emergency situations throughout history, it comes natural to believe that things can result in something completely different from what it was initially planned. How many of you have taken the time to think about how the world around us will be after this pandemic will come to an end? Whatever happens in the next weeks, as consequences of the choices that societies and authorities will make, will create the foundation on which our life in the next years will function on. The effects will not only spread in the health field, but also in politics, economy, and culture. Currently, we are experiencing social distancing in order to flatten the curve. We are considering the aspect of herd immunity. We are going through imposed quarantine. We are working from home, and we are not traveling. Yet, one can't help but wonder, is there more to come after COVID-19 is over?